Hello, my name is Jacob Holleman, and my final project for Intro to Materials is about crystallization. So for my project, I wanted to show the process of crystallization, and to make my 3D model, I went with making rock candy. And so what is crystallization? It is the process of atoms or molecules arranging into a well-defined rigid crystal lattice in order to minimize their energetic state. There are a couple of ways crystallization can happen, such as precipitating from a solution, which is what my project will focus on, freezing, and then deposition from a gas, which is not that common. So what are the applications of crystallization? The crystallization process has a broad use in various industries today, such as pharmaceutical and the chemical industries. Extracting a precipitate from a concentrated solution is the most common way. One example of this is the manufacturing of lactose and lysine for food products. Right here is an image showing the process of mass producing a product from the crystallization process. And then this image right here is the pulling of a copper precipitate from a copper nitrate solution. So before I go into the process of how I made my rock candy for the 3D model, let's talk about what crystals themselves are. So crystals are solids that have a periodic arrangement of either atoms, ions, or molecules. There are 4 types of crystals: covalent, ionic, metallic, and molecular. Within those types, there are 7 types of crystal structures, but for this project, I focused on cubic structures mainly. I decided to focus on cubic structures because they are the most common out of most of them, and we already learned this in class in the beginning, but a simple cubic structure, as implied, is the simplest of all of them. It has an atom in each corner, and there's only 1 atom per unit cell. And then next is the face-centered cubic structure. It's one of the more commons, and it has an atom in each corner like the simple, and then an atom on each face. And there's a total of 4 atoms per cell, and it is the closest packed arrangement of atoms. And then the next one is a body-centered cubic structure, another of the more common ones, and it has an atom in each corner and then one in the middle as well. And it's closely packed, but not as much as a face-centered cubic structure is. So the materials I needed to make rock candy were 4 cups of water, 10 cups of sugar, wooden skewers, food coloring, clothespins, and mason jars. Now onto the actual process of making the rock candy. And to make rock candy, I first needed to make a super saturated solution of sugar dissolved in water. For that, I brought 4 cups of water to a boil and then added 10 cups of sugar, dissolving 1 cup at a time until the 10 cups of sugar were dissolved. As I kept adding cups of sugar, it became harder and harder to dissolve, and then I let it cool until it was completely cooled, which took around 3 hours. And then the next thing I had to do was coat the wooden skewers in water and then coat them in sugar, so that when I put them inside the mason jars with the saturated solution, it would start the crystallization process. And when I had to put the skewers inside the mason jars, they had to not touch the walls or touch the bottom, so I suspended them with a combination of clothespins and wooden popsicle sticks, and so they ended up looking like this. And I also added food coloring because why not? The crystallization process is pretty slow, and so for rock candy, it usually takes around 5 to 7 days before it starts to look like rock candy you would buy in a store. And here is some progress I documented over that time. These photos I took are from the first day after a couple hours, which is this one, and then on day 3 you can start to see, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see a little bit forming. And then on the day before I took them out, you can see a lot forming on the wooden skewer. And so here is my final product that I made. My rock candy I only let stay in the solution I made for 5 days, so the candy could have gotten a little bigger if I left it in for the full 7. And I wanted to do a time lapse of my rock candy growing, but I didn't have a camera to do so. So here is a short video to show a rock candy over a time lapse. And here are my sources, and thank you for watching.